Alright guys, today I'm going to be showing you how to replace the speed sensor on this 91 Honda Accord. It'll be the same from 90 to 93. This is an automatic transmission. Really simple to do. We're just going to have to remove a few things. So let's go ahead and jump into it and get started. Alright, so the first thing we're going to want to do is go ahead and remove this air intake right here and undo these hoses. We're going to lift this out of the way. Then we'll be able to get a clear shot right down to the speed sensor. So to start with, you're going to need a Phillips screwdriver to undo the air intake from up here on the throttle body all the way down here to the breather box. Alright, now that we got that loosened up, we're going to want to disconnect this throttle cable right here. This pops off real easy. And then if you have then you're going to need a pair of pliers to undo the metal clip right here. You're also going to want to undo the metal clamp right here, also on this red hose. Now we're going to want to disconnect these hoses here on top and over here on the side. So they should just pull right off. If they are a little stuck, just take your pair of pliers and real gently put some pressure on them, kind of turn them back and forth a little bit, and it'll break them loose and they'll pop right off. Alright, so this red hose right here, this runs down to the charcoal canister. That's for your smog. And this right here is the air box, vacuum air control box right here. You want to make sure that you get all these hoses connected back when you're finished properly. Alright, now that we got all that loose and disconnected, you're going to grab a 8mm socket. We're going to take the top of this air breather box off. You can use a Phillips screwdriver, but I recommend just using a socket. If you got one laying around, you can use. Alright, now we've got that off, we're going to set this out of the way. Alright, now that we've got all that out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and show you right where the speed sensor is located. It is right on top of the transmission, right down underneath where that breather tube was. I'll go ahead and show you. Alright, so there is the top of the speed sensor right there. Right here on top, and then there's going to be a bolt on each side that we're going to have to loosen up and take out. There we go. You can kind of see the head of one of those bolts right there. So let's go ahead and start on that. Alright, so here's the new speed sensor right here. Got a little clip on it, and then here's the bottom of it where it's going to plug into the transmission, and it's going to come with a little rod right here. And as the transmission spins around, it spins this dial and it tells the speed sensor how fast your car is going. So make sure that whenever you change this out, you replace this little part too. It's just going to simply slide down inside of there. Now as you can see here, I've got a little small ratchet. It's going to be a 10mm socket. I recommend using a deep, thin wall socket and get an extension as long as you can. This one right here, as you can see, it moves on the end. So I can take this, whenever I stick it down in there, I'll be able to turn that corner just a little bit better to be able to get those bolts out. Alright, now I also recommend, if you've got one of these little guys right here with the little magnet on the end, these guys right here are awesome, because instead of me fumbling around trying to get those bolts out and then possibly dropping them and losing them, with this guy I can just reach down, grab a hold of them, finish twisting them, and pull them right out without losing them. Just like that, no hassle, no worries. I didn't have to chase these bolts down because I dropped them. Alright, and just like that, here is the old one. And as you can see, that little pin that comes with it, that's still on the top side of the transmission, down inside the hole of the speed shaft. So I'll show you that. Again, make sure that you replace it with the new one, because those get worn out. Sometimes it's just this that gets worn out on the inside. Sometimes it's the little rod itself that gets worn out, which is why the speed sensor quits working properly. Alright, you can see it right there. Right there is the top of that rod. So we're going to pull that out and replace it with the new one. Alright, so I got the new pin right here. I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but the top side of it is square. And the bottom side of it, where it's round, has two little wings on it. And that's what's going to be setting down inside the transmission this way. And that's whenever it spins, that's what's grabbing. Alright, now that we got that in there, now it's time to install the new speed sensor. Alright, now just like how I took it out, I'm going to take these screws, or these bolts I mean, I'm going to clamp onto them, make sure they're good and snug on here. Then I'm going to take it and I'm going to put it down in there, real lightly thread it back in, make sure it doesn't cross thread, of course. And then once they're in there, I'll be able to take my socket, put it back down in there, and tighten everything back up properly. All right, now I got those in there real easy, so now I'll go ahead and tighten them up. Alright guys, now that I got that speed sensor installed, it's time to start putting everything back together, which is a real simple process. But, word of advice whenever you're doing this. Whenever you get your new speed sensor, here's the old one here. I put this little plastic piece inside the clip here to show you guys. This is going to be inside of it. You won't be able to plug anything up, so make sure that you remove that white piece out. Otherwise it will not plug in. The first time I ever did this job, I had that problem, couldn't figure it out, and then I realized there was that little plastic piece inside of it. So I remembered to do it this time. So this is just a word of warning for you guys. Also, whenever you go to connect it together, make sure that you not only hear it click, but make sure that you see that it is pressed down all the way around, making a flush connection. Otherwise, you're going to get everything back together, get in your car, and your speed sensor won't work because it's not making proper connection on the inside. Even if you heard that click, you want to make sure that it is pressed down all the way. Alright guys, now that I got that speed sensor installed, I'm going to go ahead and get everything put back together here and take this for a test drive. Remember to hit that like button. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button and the bell notification so you always get updates whenever I post new videos about these 90 through 93 Honda Accords and also other vehicles along the way whenever they come up. I just want to be informative and helpful to you guys and show you guys how to fix things properly and the right way and easy.